Well, I'm more or less sad for the job loss in the community. That's what I'm more sad for. The young kids, there's so much drugs and violence and, around town, and guys and women too, child abuse and neglect. And I don't even know if having those jobs out there would even help that. I don't know. Our society is in such a mess, but I'm wondering if the jobs were there, if that would make a difference. People would have some place to go, something to do. We don't have the jobs around here. I'm sure, the fast food jobs, you see signs, you could ride down McGuire now hiring, help wanted. But if those other jobs like that was still there, would it make a difference? Could. The differences.
Yeah, kind of some of the differences in the Muncie community. Like you mentioned, there was an economic impact and there was the population, if there was anything.
Well, going back to the fact that job security, jobs, just jobs in general. And like I was touching on the drugs, that there's just so much of that now. And there's so much child neglect and so much abuse. And I'm just wondering if we still had those jobs here, if people were able to work, in a decent job and have insurance where they could really support their families and get them into medical care. And, I volunteer with an organization. We help kids with their homework in the evenings. And some of the kids that come there, some of the things that I hear, people's families aren't stable anymore. Family life is just terrible in some situations. I don't know if it would help the drug epidemic here, but it could have. And that's what I hate about the fact that they're gone. They were here the longest and they stuck it out, and I'm glad for that. But since they've been gone, it just seems like families, the breakdown in the family situation has really gotten worse. Mm-hmm. That's what I think.
How would you say the closing affected the community?
You can, by recreation never survived in Muncie. Bowling centers are closing, golf centers are closing in their surrounding area. I mean, we would branch out to Eaton, Albany, Newcastle, and places like that just to go do our golf tournaments with company and union, So there's no doubt there was lost revenue from General Motors and BorgWarner and Muncie. No doubt. Matter of fact, look at the high schools. You're down one high school now instead of three. So right there shows you a lot of people moved away, had to find another job. So, yeah, it was a big loss.
How many people would you say have moved away that you've known?
Oh, probably a couple hundred at least. If I had any sense, I'd be out of here too instead of driving 74 miles one way to work. Craziness, but I choose to do so, and a few of us are too. And a lot of the people too was older than me and are now eligible for Social Security and stuff like that too. So I still got a ways for that. I'll be 59 in May. So, but yeah, it hurt the community. I feel that all that's left in Muncie is Ball State and the hospital and 2 Walmarts. Look at what's happening at the mall right now. That's going to be, those places are going to be the next vacant buildings because everybody's shopping online and there's not that many people here. I mean, Muncie can't survive on Ball State students' credit cards. So.
Yeah, there's not as much, I think, community activity since the plant left. It's turned into more a collegiate kind of not a college town, but a lot of young people. It's a totally different culture, I think, than when BorgWarner, New Venture Gear, and those kinds of places were here. most of the people now are looking more into education rather than into skilled labor and those kinds of things. So I think the culture of Muncie has kind of shifted since BorgWarner's left.
Okay. What are the impacts that you think that you still see because BorgWarner closed?
There's still a lot of people who are working, but there are no $25, $27 an hour jobs for people who don't have bachelor degrees and those kinds of things. So if you don't have a certain level of education, your income is going to be a certain level, and as a result, your community is going to be at a certain level, and people are just too old, a lot of them, to try to get that education. And my father really never encouraged me to get an education. So these guys may not encourage even their children in how important education is. Get out there and get a job, get work, make some money, bring it home to your family. But the whole culture has to change for the next generation. And if I don't pass that on, then I'm bringing up a generation in an area that I was in that's no longer there. So now what does this people do? They don't have an education, and this opportunity isn't available to them now. So that's where we kind of feel like now we're in that shift where we really got to get people more geared toward education.
So would you say things have gotten better or worse or just different?
I would think they're a little worse, much different, but getting better now. It's a period of transition that I think our city had to go through, but I think things are getting better. Ivy Tech, again, Ball State, they've got all kinds of programs to help bring people in to help them prepare for this shift. More technical jobs. They're not going to be a whole lot of putting on and taking off. They're going to be, can you run this robot? So even if it's doing it, I'm going to be doing it in a different technical level. So I think it was just this transition period that we're going into, and I think we're kind of coming out of it now. We were in a pretty bad state for a while.
Yeah, I definitely feel like Muncie is very much reimagining itself. Do you feel that way too?
Most definitely.
Yeah.